What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Redemption 46 Studios. I'm Nick.
I'm Curtis.
I'm Jarek.
You know the vibes. Y'all seen the picture. Y'all seen the thumbnail. Y'all know why y'all here. Devil by the Window, TXT. This is your first time on the channel. You better not be a devil. Hit that subscribe button and become a real redeemer today. Also, for content like this, jump on the Patreon. We literally going to be getting into the live version of this. That Hive picnic thing is going to be up on there. TXT album review is going to be up on there as well. We're going to be doing some of the B-sides and some other stuff from them. Also, too, y'all got to tell me about the 127 joint that I seen today with NCT. Look at this, y'all.
What?
What's going on here?
NCT 127 and TXT.
Oh.
Today, just y'all gotta explain to me what is going on, because they said this was like a Hive meeting or whatever, or something happened. I don't know, but y'all gotta explain to me. But
they're gonna be a new super group.
Yeah, but it was live video and shit of Subin and Taeyong.
Hey.
So you know, I'm just like, yeah. Hey yo. Look, Tay and them, I'm just like, yo, it's 127 and TXT. Like, what is going on? We probably gonna be talking about this multiple times, but essentially, from what I heard, word on the street was that Lee Suman's nephew was trying to sell his stocks with the company illegally. So what Lee Suman did was he took his private jet and he went to go have a conversation with Bang, and basically talked Bang into buying his stock with the company. With that being said, I think either Hive right now owns 18% of SM and could possibly be getting more shares. But I'm told that Bang was just doing this on a tight time to save SM from potentially being bought out by another company who's like a tech company. Kind of
It began with a K or something.
Yes,
I forget exactly. I saw the name. I forget.
They're
exactly.
a giant conglomerate or something like that in South Korea that like is a big tech company. But I guess Bang and Lee Suman come to some type of understanding that if that company buys SM, it ruins the integrity of K-pop. Because there's all these guys, Bang, Lee Suman, and all of them come from music backgrounds. The people who would be buying the companies come from like a tech background. And it just would ruin the integrity of like K-pop.
It would definitely be formulaic.
Yes, they feel like they would come in and you would start changing things, disbanding groups.
Well, Hive is going to protect its artists for sure, at least the artistic integrity of the music from what we've come to understand. And the one thing I did hear, and I don't know exactly like the significance of how it plays into this or anything like that, but I did believe that Bang had approached at one point for shares from Lee Suman, and that he was either denied or something didn't work out with it, and then basically this situation happened. And whether by having no other choice or by it being like a natural progression of the relationships, that they were able to ultimately kind of come to that decision through this. But
that Hive money got to be different. So Hive, obviously Hive has Hive.
10 years.
Dog.
10 years.
Hive got like, QC. Hive bought Little Baby, City Girls, and all of that. He bought
they got
QC.
Grande and Bieber, right?
Well, yeah, but that was all with Scooter Braun just in general and shit. But they bought QC or whatever for $320 million.
Hey.
The stuff that they did with the Lee Suman shares, I think, was also like over $300 million. They just did over $600 million worth of just acquiring other pieces and shit like that. Like it's. BTS paved the way, man. That Hive money hit a little bit different.
This is just like this is some serious like this is gonna have a serious impact.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not gonna speak like I know everything because I kind of just was looking at what people were sending me and kind of just was looking at some stuff. I'm not sure if this is gonna be just kind of a deal where where Bang is trying to buy Lee Suman or SM Time, or if they really just going to kind of purchase them flat out. What I will say is if Hive does purchase SM like kind of out or becomes a majority shareholder, that's a kind of ideal situation for SM. Hive doesn't bother anybody when they purchase you. If Jarek had his own company and your artists were thriving and everything, but y'all were under financial problems and Hive bought y'all, they wouldn't shake up anything that you got going on if they already knew y'all were already talented and doing y'all thing. they would just help you and just be like, yo, keep doing your thing. If you need, you know, any help, we're kind of here, but we're not here to shake the boat, kind of.
Nice.
And I kind of like that approach because it seems like when they got Playlist, they didn't kind of shake anything up. All these other acquisitions that they have, they don't kind of shake anything up. So yeah, man, this is crazy. Even that QC deal is crazy. They were saying that with the QC deal, Bang PD paid off all the debts that QC had. Anything that was liquid as far as like any cars that were like owed payments on, houses or things of that nature, they kind of handled and still gave P like $300 million and kept them on retainer, like, you know, with the company and everything. So must be good being under Hive, man.
That Korean money definitely.
Making Howard moves.
Yeah, not real shit.
Don't be surprised when you're in South Korea.
That is genuinely incredible, though, in only 10 years of kind of everything they've had to overcome, you know, between Bang, BTS, you know, big hit, and then becoming Hive and so on and so forth. Just for what they've been able to achieve and everything is just, it's genuinely ridiculous.
It's ironic
It's inspiring, honestly.
It's ironic that, you know, they felt like the big three kind of was pushing them or holding them back from being able to do certain things earlier on, and how American companies, they felt like either had xenophobia or wasn't really trying to let them in the market. And now Hive has shares in one of the big three and owns a majority or a nice portion of music in the U.S. It's kind of crazy.
It's literally only been 10 years.
It's kind of crazy.
It's a monopoly right there.
Yeah. And I ain't gonna run on a tangent because we've probably been talking for a minute. I was wondering what are the monopoly rules when it comes to music. Just because I know in film, there is even monopoly rules in film where you can only acquire but so many things before that monopoly rule kicks in. And they like, yo, you can't own all the content with certain things.
Is Disney the exemption?
Disney kind of already got dinged on certain things with certain shit where it's just like, it's certain shit they can't, you know, do. Like, I'm not sure Disney is allowed just to go buy Warner. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be, you own 60% of all the catalogs for film.
Ever.
Yeah, like, you know, and it's just, you know, and I respect the monopoly rules and shit because they're here for a reason. You don't want anybody just having like one company that handles kind of everything and shit. That's how those futuristic movies happen, and that's how books start getting burnt.
Wally.
Yeah, no long talk though. Definitely want to jump into the rest of the TXT content and kind of, you know, have a conversation after we're done because I'm pretty sure we're gonna be talking more Hive stuff, especially when like Lil Keith and all them get here too. But yeah,
Devil by the window.
sexy. It's like
reminded me of Lady Gaga.
the play. Into sky, too sweet to turn down. Just
Look how much time they're taking with that section too. The fade effect of that too was crazy.
Nah, that was good. That was all English, too.
Yeah.
You know what vibe I was getting from there? The Jonas joint. I'm a sucker for you. Like kind of in the same kind of breathiness and stuff like that. Not to compare. Nah. But I like that a lot. The inflections and stuff felt a little different than anything that TXT has done. So I think that adds like another notch in their belt for just things that they kind of have going on. I love kind of that low vibrato with kind of like some of the breathiness and stuff like that. I thought that was decent. I thought voices were paired well together on here as far as like the layering that was going on and just some of the other little word plays. Just even stuff that was a little more catchier and just a bit more chill. Because the lyrics and everything else is very contained compared to some of the stuff that TXT does conceptually. But that was fine. I like this because it just had like a good vibe and a good groove to it. It felt grown. I know it's a lot of performance to this. It feels like this is one of those performances where y'all got suits on. Kind of walking down the street like with the snap walking and singing. But nah, I like this a lot. If it was any gripe with it, maybe I wanted it to pick up maybe just a little bit more, because it was so like cool and chill the whole time. You wanted it to crescendo a little bit. Obviously they did like change the register when it went like you kind of more into like that like chill vibe when it went lower. But for some reason I wanted it to spike up a little bit. I don't know why, but that might just be me. I don't know. Y'all let me know how y'all feel Redeemers. How'd y'all feel though?
You know, it wasn't really my cup of tea. I've heard better music from TXT. I just don't think this felt finished to me. I don't think this is their sound. I respect them trying, you know. I definitely hear what they're going for. I just don't think, you know, they hit it very well to me. But yeah, it wasn't really nothing too crazy for me. Reminded me of Lady Gaga. Which is great. Love Lady Gaga. I just don't think they executed it well to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously, you know, we're gonna do the album like review and talk about like the different songs, and this is the first track off there. So I believe the album is called Temptation. So Devil by the Window kind of already sets up whatever thematic themes you kind of have. You know what I mean? I feel like that kind of suits Temptation kind of very well from the rip, especially because we know kind of after this you get into the Sugar Ride, which is more of the Peter Pan-esque, like, you know, type vibes. So, you know, Temptation, Devil by the Window, the Sugar Rush thing, then I think Crazy Fools or Happy Fools. Happy Fools is the third track after that.
That makes sense.
So I get where they're going. Like I said, I don't think you're too far off, Jarek, so especially in your opinion. But I don't mind when something doesn't sound like the group. You know what I mean? Where like you're testing things out, because I believe some of the stuff on here is experimentation. Like some of these tracks, I think TXT wanted to experiment and do some things that they haven't done like on other albums. So, you know, we'll see how it plays out and shit. I feel like they'll take whatever lesson they learn from this track and do a little bit more. But I don't think you too far off with the whole. Not so much like it didn't feel finished, but just it's something felt. I don't want to say missing because some people will take that and just be like, "What do you mean the production was like God tier or
The production was not God tier.
It just was. The production was decent, but it did feel like I keep saying the word crescendo just because it felt like you kind of were waiting for something to ascend at some point, and it
nothing
just
ever
didn't
really happened.
It didn't rise.
I don't even see them performing this live and it being entertaining.
Oh, we're gonna see.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see. It felt like it could have been a dance track, like a song that could be played at the clubs, but just I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to see too. This slow rabbit.
Oh, okay.
Help write and produce. Oh no, so that's decent. Is there any other information on here? Devil by the Window is an English song and pop genre. The colorful composition of the song and the contrasting melody leave a strong impression like the Devil's Temptation that is hard to resist. The heavy bass line, the pre-chorus with a sense of rising, and the dreamy outro add to the fun of listening.
The fun of listening. That was pretty fun, all right.
Yeah, and like I said,
I definitely do think the production did a lot with those aspects. I'll get into that in a second. Though.
Yeah, because I'm gonna let you jump into it. I definitely see what the song was setting up. Even in the beginning when they just talk about kind of like the wolf in sheep's clothing and everything like that. Just the alluring and the temptation filled, because most of the times anybody that watches like movies, reads the Bible, or does anything knows that anytime the devil really approaches you, everything always sets things up where it doesn't look like the devil. It's almost like
wolf in sheep clothing.
Yeah, lady redeemers. I'm pretty sure any one of y'all exes who was, you thought was the love of your life was a nice guy when you first met him. 4 months into the relationship, when it got shitty, it just was like, Jesus Christ, he's the devil. A wolf in sheep's clothing. He's like, I hate him, Nick, you're right. He stole my credit card and crashed my car. Jeez. Mommy, it's him. But yeah, I want to hear your opinion on this.
No, it's definitely like the sonically, like the music side of it is definitely something that I think had a lot of elements in it for me that I did like. As a collection of a song, it's something I need to hear a few more times just to really, especially processing with the album. But I'm definitely getting hints of that as you kind of bring up the other tracks directly in succession of it. So I'm like, okay, I definitely see thematically kind of where they're trying to take it. And I'm definitely excited for the last two tracks as well. If we're kind of headed in the direction I think we are. But I like that the beat, especially in the beginning, felt like it was kind of like really beating down on you, like whether it was heavy percussions or whatever the case may have been. And you see this oftentimes what some groups will do with kind of like anything that's meant to be something that's like weighing on you so heavy, they might kind of have it be, and I'm not saying this is overproduced, but they might go with a heavier production to kind of hammer into your head, like to give you that sensibility that something is like really weighing on you and beating down on you. And I think that they did a good amount of that in the beginning. It was a little off-putting, but rightfully so narratively. At least for like the intro to it, you know what I mean? Because obviously, you might in more traditional kind of framework of songs, you might get a little bit of a build up to those things before you kind of get to that point to kind of ease the audience into that mindset. But they start like right off in the beginning, but they're essentially saying that temptation is kind of like beating down on you to where it's like inescapable, like a bad headache or something, like something you can't just turn away from as easy or can't ignore. So I think that was alluring because they could have also went slow instrumental and made it more, I don't want to say just seductive. I mean, and surely in the choreo they could have done things like that too. I don't know if they have or haven't or whatever. But basically they could have done like the slow kind of seductive way of
a hypnotizing melody.
Exactly to mimic the essence of temptation. But I like that they kind of keep it with a beating down on you thing. But then as the track progresses and everything, and you start getting more of the melodies and the harmonizations, which I did think were really well paired throughout here. Because again, if the production was a little bit off-putting for you, then those melodies were the comfort or the level of the seductiveness of the temptation, seemingly. So I thought they incorporated those things really well. And obviously their voices are incredible. I mean, certainly from other tracks that we've heard from them, we know how incredible their voices are too. But then when it gets to around that later point where I think you were talking about you wanted to crescendo a little bit, when they went with the choice of lowering it, I felt that actually served it really well narratively as well. Because if you're talking about something beating you down kind of up here, and then you kind of mellow it out a little, essentially you're getting calm to where you're not feeling that, and they use that as like the seduction aspect of it, or at least the alluringness of that temptation, to where if you had fallen into it, well, I guess that's the thing. Instead of a crescendo of rising, they literally do the falling.
We've fallen into it.
Yeah, because you've fallen under temptation, so to speak. So they kind of, I think the production was actually, really important. And I do, like, sonically, it might not be something that, like, anyone can just hear regularly, at least, from that first listen, and kind of, like, vibe with quite the same, but I did think their vocals were like really nice throughout it. But again, this being the first track on the album and everything, it's just kind of alluring you into that sense of the story they're trying to tell, and I think they set the groundwork really well for that. But I like how I think the production aided it really well in that regard as well. And I'm definitely curious if they have any kind of choreo, or how they would choose to tell this story of falling to temptation, in a unique and creative way. And we certainly know their choreo is incredible as well. But all that to say, and then, just on them, the members themselves, as far as everything, like, I really did like what they included with the harmonizations and everything like that, as far as, again, a little bit more of that alluringness. But honestly, and I know there was a lot of repeatability in the lyrics, like, it felt like the hook was kind of riding out a little bit too much, maybe for some people. But again, it's that repetitiveness of the temptation that kind of hammering in your head. But I did think some of the lyrics that were in there that stood out to me were certainly the wolf in sheep's clothing thing. And I know that that's like not like necessarily something that's too, like, you might kind of think that goes with the territory naturally, to where it might not be too shocking or anything like that. But I did really think of that, and I love the aspect of like the essentially not being able to sleep because it's beating you down so much, but then also the dream on. So when they talk about the falling out the window aspect, and mind you, we saw that with the concept trailer, how incredible that was, the room tilting and everything like that. So I'm thinking of those things visually, like kind of when they're saying this, and that's kind of putting me in the proper headspace, I would say, to digest the track properly, if it was at least a little off-putting to you, whether in the production or anything like that. And I think ultimately it really did serve its purpose in that regard. But again, it's that, like, your body feeling weightless, and again, that freedom to where it's like there doesn't necessarily, or at least in the production, they're not mimicking like that crescendo or anything like that. It's really just that freedom. Like, if everything's beaten down on you here, and then you have so much space between the tracks, between the words, towards that crescendo, so to speak, or the bridge, I guess you would say, of the track, that really is like if you had that bad headache or whatever was beating down on you, it's like now you're just feeling like you're floating kind of. And I feel like they did a really great job both with their voices and with the production as far as echoing kind of that feeling. And it definitely served its purpose. I'm curious, because I was just genuinely wondering the whole devil in the window thing, like just the window itself. And I don't know if that's to say symbolically, like, the house being the place of comfort or something like that. So where if you're out the window, you're like out of your comfort zone or something. Like, I don't know if it's something like that, or if it's something like, 'cause even if you see like Conjuring 2, like the end scene with the window and everything and the nun. Like, so I don't know if there's like some kind of literature as far as like windows or anything like that. Windows into the soul, perhaps.
So I was about to say windows into the soul.
So it could be something like that. But nonetheless, I found the intrigue of that fascinating as well. So if there is any kind of lore behind that, then I'd be eager to see. But the last thing I was really going to say is when you pair that with the Sugar Rush ride that comes right after it, now whatever that calming space was where you feel like your body's weightless and you're floating and you're able to dream on, so to speak, or you're in that dreamlike state where everything's like, like happy.
Like happy fool?
Exactly. So it's like when you get, and then essentially you're mimicking that high of the Sugar Rush. But then the Happy Fools is kind of a little bit seemingly of that come down. But then ultimately you're like, even if, it's like this, it's something that we're ultimately embracing. and that would be the midpoint of kind of like choosing to accept it, even if you see a little bit of flaws, perhaps. So I'm excited, kind of at least from those first listens, kind of where they seem like they're going to take this. But all in all, it is something I probably have to listen to a couple times, and certainly with relation to the album. But ultimately, like I'm really liking where they're going, and I think the choices behind everything that they did were really fascinating, and I'm just eager to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's TXT. I know any choices that they did, whether it was with the production or anything contextually with like the lyrics, it's all for a purpose. And this group is kind of already goated in my opinion, so I don't mind them being experimental, especially with something like this that's kind of the intro of the album to kind of get you to buy into what's going on. And like you said, I'll take it in the essence of like, okay, we've heard the 2 tracks after this, we're listening to this, the first 3 tracks make sense. Now it's just to listen to the last 2 and kind of like go from there. Yeah. And also I do want to see the live, just because I do want to see Jarek. What do you do with this live? Are you sitting down and just kind of like singing? Are you kind of suited up and thrusting? Like, what are you?
Yeah, and also, and that's honestly what I was going to say a little bit about what I would like to see perhaps as the choreo, because it's like, just imagine like, obviously we haven't seen any of the choreo or anything like that. If there is any, like I'm not even sure, but basically just put yourself in the mindset of this is the lyrics and this is the song we had written and sang, to where now it's like we have to go about constructing a choreo. It's like, how do you go about that? Like, do you emphasize a little bit of the seductiveness of like sexual kind of like slow moves and things like that, to where like you're selling that alluringness, because mind you, you're also performing in front of like a crowd and everything. So I know like things like that'll be more alluring, at least from an audience perspective. So it's like, do you kind of go a little bit more that route, or do you go a little bit more like being like dazed and confused and kind of not knowing where you are, and hiding members in formations and kind of revealing them at different, what I mean? Or do you do like the whole wolf in sheep clothing thing, to where you kind of have the members like mask someone and then reveal them, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's so many creative ways to kind of go about that, but I just find the fascination with that stuff also really incredible too, because there's infinite directions that you could go to kind of try to go about telling that story. If you're talking about the floatingness, towards the bridge, do you go with like, picking a member up and kind of freely like, carrying them or anything like that, or doing like a slow spin move, So I'm just really curious artistically, because we know how Hive in general, and certainly with TXT, directly, having to follow BTS and everything, how much artistic freedom they've had to really be themselves and go on their own journey. And I've loved what we've seen, especially the concept trailer and things like that. So it's like, I love their artistic, way into music. So it's just, I'm just really excited to see kind of where they take these complex themes.
Yeah, they ain't no slouches, man. My boys all rounders. We know what they do with the pen. We know what they do with the production, and we damn sure know what they do with the choreo. For sure. So yeah, yo, we about to literally jump into the live performance of Devil by the Window. Make sure you guys jump on the Patreon. Definitely been giving y'all like an album review and also reviewing the next 2 songs to kind of give y'all a feel on how we feel about it. But we love y'all. We're gonna highlight y'all.
Love y'all.
Peace.